Hello, everybody on the Zoom side of things. I'm just going to give you a quick explanation of how things work in Zoom. The cool thing about Zoom is that we can hear some laughter and applause and make a little bit more community of a setting, a little more engaging of a concert. So the important thing to know about Zoom is that any noise you make will be picked up by your microphone and everybody will hear it, probably louder than the performance. So if your phone starts ringing, it'll interrupt the show. If you crack a can of beer or eating some potato chips or start ordering carry out, everybody will hear it. So as long as you're in a quiet space, we would like you to be unmuted. It makes for a lot more engaging of a concert. So I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So you're going to go down to the participants window, click on this button down here, and it'll pop up the list of names. This is as long as you're on a computer. If you are on an iPad or an iPhone, it'll be a button in the top right corner, I believe. But down here, you're going to find this button. It says raise hand. You click on that button, it tells me that you would like to volunteer to be unmuted. Do not worry, you can mute yourself at any time, and as long as your hand is still raised, I'll be able to unmute you. Also, don't worry if your phone rings or something unexpected happens. I can catch it and mute you really quickly. So I don't want to discourage anybody from unmuting. We would like as many unmuted as possible. Just keep quiet during the songs and be loud and boisterous during the laughter and applause. All right, and with that, I am going to intro Louise to get the show started.
Okay, well, welcome everyone. And I am here in Asheville, North Carolina, where the ISIS Music Hall is located. And tonight the show is streamed as part of our Mountain Spirit Acoustic Series for the ISIS Music Hall. We've been running this series for most of the summer with 2 or 3 concerts a week. And we often do the concerts on Facebook Live, sometimes YouTube, but we're doing some on Zoom now, which is really fun because then you get to interact and be part of the audience too. So we have an exciting show tonight. We have an opening act, and then we will get to Reverend Robert Jones and his wonderful set. If you would like to follow this series, you can go to the ISIS Music Hall website. I think Brandon will post that link later, or also to the Mountain Spirit Acoustic Series Facebook page, and you'll see the shows listed. Right now, I have 2 more shows coming up in August. One will be with Jenner Fox, and that will be Wednesday the 26th, and the next night on the 27th will be with Tret Fury. We've got some exciting shows coming up that we'll be posting soon for September. So we're going to start off the show tonight with our opener, who's Jenner Fox. Jenner is a young songwriter out of Oregon, although he has some roots in New England as well. And besides songwriting and touring on his bike, he also spends a lot of time on the river as a river guide. He is a river guide down in Patagonia in the winter, and then he comes back up here and works in the Pacific Northwest and in Canada. So he's got a really good handle on the outdoors, and I have booked him here at ISIS Music Hall before, and he's coming up again on Wednesday. And he was also a Golden Ticket Award at the NERFA Folk Alliance Conference a few years ago. So I think you really will enjoy Jenner's songs. So let's go ahead and start off the night with Jenner Fox. Woo!
Pleasure to be here. It's an honor to open up for Robert Jones on Zoom. Here we go. This is a song of mine called "The One." You make me stutter. You make me dumb, you make me lonesome, you're the one. We could do nothing, we could do some, I don't care, you're the one. I swore off loving, swore off dreams, I built a fence, tall as a tree. I swore off puppies, I feared the fleas, but that's all done. You're the one. We love the moon, we curse the sun. You keep me warm, you're the one. I like to change, I like to run. Nothing's for sure, you're the one. I swore off rivers, I swore off weed, I swore off swearing, but I was mean. I lay with others, I lay with none. I lay with you, you're the one. Woo! All right, thank you guys. Look forward to coming back later in the show, and also on Wednesday, I'll go ahead and post the link for that in the chat. Thanks to Louise and Robert for having me. Bye.
Thanks, Jenner. See you later. Okay, well, it's a real treat to have this next fellow coming and playing for ISIS Music Hall. We were talking about this little at soundcheck that we were all at NERFA, I believe it was 2 years ago, and we were in the Golden Ticket Room, which is when a presenter like myself chooses an outstanding artist that they've seen at the conference to do a presentation to a room of talent buyers. And in that room, the opener that night was Jenner Fox, and the closer was Reverend Robert Jones with Matt Retrova. So it is a small world. But we're excited to have the Reverend tonight. He is an inspirational storyteller, and he's been a musician who celebrates the humor and the power of American roots music. He's been touring and performing for more than 25 years and educating audiences of all ages around the country. He's an award-winning multi-instrumentalist, accomplished on guitar, harmonica, mandolin, banjo, and fiddle. I think we'll see a variety of those tonight. He's also recorded 6 albums of traditional and original songs. Robert also is the former host of award-winning radio program, Blues from the Lowlands and Deep River, broadcast on Detroit Public Radio. He's an ordained minister and a Baptist pastor, and he has an unwavering faith in the cultural importance of sacred and traditional American roots music. He's a wonderful performer. He's got a great smile, and we're in for a great show tonight. So please put some nice chats in there as you're enjoying the show. Show us your faces on those cameras so that Robert can see your smile. So Robert Jones, we're looking forward to your show.
Woo! Thank you so much. Thank you, Louise, and thank you, Jenner. Man, that's a wonderful song and a wonderful style you have. Looking forward to hearing more of Jenner as the night goes on. When I was a kid, my grandmother brought home a record that changed my life, literally, and it was from where? North Carolina. And so it's really amazing to be a part of this wonderful ISIS music series. And that record that I'm talking about was a couple of bluesmen named Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee. Sonny Terry on harmonica, and he had been legally blind since the age of 2. And Brownie McGee, who had contracted polio as a little boy and had one leg shorter than the other. And together they formed a team that was like hand in glove. Even when they didn't like each other, they loved each other and needed each other. So my grandmother brought home this record, and immediately I was hooked. I started getting a harmonica, trying to play along with Sonny, and eventually went to the pawn shop and found a guitar, started playing along with Brownie. And they had great songs like Hooray, Hooray, This Woman Is Killing Me. But the one that really captured my imagination was one called Gone But Not Forgotten. My baby and me, we never used to fight. Used to love, hug, and kiss at night. I came home one morning and she had gone away. Ever since she went away, Lord, no, my heart does nothing but ache. Our address is unknown, Lord, blues is here to stay. She's gone but not forgotten, tell you the reason why. She had the kind of love that would satisfy. She had love like the ocean rolling that comes in with the tide. Well, I hope, Lord, I hope there comes a day she let her love way by my way and explain to me herself the reason why she left. She's gone but not forgotten, tell you the reason why. She had the kind of love that would satisfy. She had love like the ocean rolling that comes in with the tide. Well, I hope, Lord, I hope there comes a day she let her love roll by my way and explain to me herself the reason why she left. Thank you so much. That's the kind of music you play when you're too cheap to get a band. So you have the guitar and the harmonica, and that's the music that came straight out of North Carolina and inspired a young kid in Detroit who was just, trying to find something that was sort of unique, something that you love to do. And as a matter of fact, Detroit is my hometown. I'm always asked by people around the country, how is Detroit? Almost like she's a patient on life support. That's because we got maybe the world's worst press. Something bad happens in Detroit, it's a disaster. If it happens somewhere else, it's just, well, that's the way things are. So I always like to tell people Detroit's just fine. And one thing about Detroit is we don't throw stuff away. I mean, my grandmother, she never believed in throwing anything away. Kids now, they don't know what it's like to have a pair of pants that's got patches on it, or to have furniture that's been reupholstered. But in my grandmother's day, if she found it and she could fix it, we sat on it. So I wrote this song about something that you just don't throw away, that happens to come from Detroit. This old house was built on Trumbull Street back in 1910 when the whole world worked for Henry Ford. He was the poor man's friend. Detroit money built it, but it outlived the fame of that city that put the world on wheels and gave Motown its name. But when you come from Detroit, you have to know, my friend, that you cannot surrender, oh, and you cannot give in. And even when you're broken and you're almost at the end, know that if you say the pieces, you will rise again. Milton Smith, he lived in this old house for almost 60 years, and it had his share of singing, and it had its share of tears. Through the Coolies and Hernandezes, time would take its toll. 2012, they took her down, 102 years old. But when you come from Detroit, you have to know, my friend, that you cannot surrender, Lord, and you dare not give in. And even when you're broken and you're almost at the end, know that if you say the pieces, you will live again. I'm just a Detroit storyteller, but I travel near and far. And a Detroit storyteller loves to play Detroit guitar. So I met a builder named Simnicki, a man of awesome skills. Arch tops, flat tops, ukuleles, ain't nothing he can't build. So I got something I'd like to show you, and I think it's kinda sweet. See, I built this from this old house that used to stand on Trumbull Street. I used maple from the floorboard and walnut from the shelves. And this top is from a ceiling joist I cut and cleaned myself. Now I play a Detroit guitar made of 100-year-old wood, and I got to tell you, she sings mighty good. Cause when you come from Detroit, you have to know, my friend, you cannot surrender, Lord, and you cannot give in. And even when you're broken and you're almost at the end, know that if you say the pieces, you will sing again. Know that if you say the pieces, you will sing again. Woo!
Yeah.
So much. So this guitar is kind of peculiar. It's got these little stripes in it, and these wide stripes are pieces of floorboard made out of maple. The black stripes are pieces of walnut made out of shelves, and the top is from a ceiling joist made of Douglas fir. And if you look in the 12th fret, it says 1910. So no matter what city or town I'm playing in, I'm always playing Detroit. So I always like to try to be a little ambassador for the city that I grew up in and really love. This has been an interesting and a trying time for not only musicians, but for clubs that host musicians, not only for the music, but for the people who help the music to happen. And so I really love this idea of coming on Zoom and doing these concerts. And, when you throw something in the tip jar, not only are you helping a worthy black family from Detroit named Jones, but you're also helping a wonderful club in Asheville, North Carolina, home of Weebo's, some of the best barbecue that you'll run across anywhere. So I grew up not only with the sound of Brownie and Sonny, but I grew up with the sound of one Lightning Hopkins, who was from Texas. And he can make that guitar do more with 3 chords and 5 notes than probably anybody I've ever heard of. At some point, old Lightning did some time. We don't know why, and we're not quite sure where, but I'm sure it was in Texas. Well, I'm pretty sure it was at Sugarland, that old prison that's on the Brazos, because he recorded this. Big Brazos, here I come. I said, Big Brazos, here I come. I'm doing time in a penitentiary when it ain't a thing for Lightning done. Lord, you should have been on the Brazos back down in 1910. Oh, but Russell drove them pretty women just like he did them ugly men. I said, oh, Big Brazos, here I come. rain, oh, lightning does. Well, you know, you talk about your woman. Man made me think about mine. Well, you talk about your woman. Man made me think about mine. Do I have to start a conversation? Oh, Lord, just to keep from crying. Well, my mama called me a handsome man. Say, are you tired of working? I said, yes, I am. My daddy called me a handsome son. Say, if you're tired of working, what you gonna stay there for? You know I just can't help myself. Ain't it hard when you're doing time for someone else?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I love, the fact my musical partner, Matt Latrobe, and I, we do a lot of schools. We try to go into schools and educate kids about where our music comes from, because we have music in common, although folks may not recognize the fact that this music that we listen to is all related, that we're sort of all cousins up under the skin. And it's amazing that in this day and age, we fight about trivialities. We argue about, our backgrounds and our ethnicities, and then we come together in America and we share each other's music because we have this common root. You think about when the African American stepped on this shore, he and she brought with them a musical tradition, just like the folks who came over on the Mayflower. They brought their musical traditions with them. And my ancestors came from West Africa, and they brought it. And it starts on the same note and ends on the same note. It gets there differently. From that African ship, like the Amistad, we brought the minor pentatonic scale. And we brought this mixture of the two, which became American music. So you think about someone like the great Son House, who might be doing something even closer to the turn of the century, called Death Letter Blues. I got a letter this morning, how you ringing red? Said hurry, hurry, cause the girl you love is dead. Got a letter this morning, oh Lord, how you ringing red? Say hurry, hurry, cause the girl you love is dead. And Son House was using those 5 notes as a bridge between his chord changes. Well, pretty soon those 5 notes migrated north to cities like Memphis, and piano players got a hold of it and decided to call it boogie woogie. With one hand they go, with the other they go. Won't you hand me down my jumper? Won't you hand my overalls? Won't you hand Well, I'm about to catch a train, wouldn't it call it cannonball? And that was hot stuff in the 1920s. By the time the 1930s rolled around, America was in a Great Depression. And a lot of those boogie woogie boots piano players ended up in black churches, playing a new style of music that sounded suspiciously like boogie woogie. They didn't call it church boogie woogie though. They called it gospel. Well, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, Lord, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Well, everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, Lord, I'm gonna let it, oh, let it shine, let it, oh, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. But the fact is, it's the same 3 chords and the same 5 notes. If my buddy Matt Watroba were here, I would toss it over to him and I'd say, Matt, why don't you demonstrate what happened in 1935 when a young man by the name of Bill Monroe from Kentucky decided to invent something called bluegrass. Frankly, ladies and gentlemen, one of the most un-Negro kind of music you can imagine. 5 white guys standing around a microphone wearing cowboy hats and yelling, "Yeehaw!" It's not my idea of heaven. But there's blues and bluegrass, in part because of the guitar player, who was a guy by the name of Lester Flatt. And Lester used to play the G run. Or something like that. That's why I need Watroba. But that's just the boogie woogie. Played with a flat pick. So you end up with songs like, I'm going down the road feeling bad. Lord, I'm going down the road feeling bad. I'm going down the road feeling bad. Lord, Lord, and I ain't gonna be treated this way. Yeehaw! Same 3 chords, same 5 notes. So what happens is 1948, you get a young man by the name of Ray Charles, not to be confused with Jamie Foxx. Ray Charles has a band, and it's a great band. One night they run out of songs. They just hadn't rehearsed enough stuff. And Ray said, that's all right, baby, just sing back to me what I sing to you. So out there in the audience, what they used to say when I was a kid in Radio Land, out there in Cyberland, sing back to me what I sing to you. Are you ready? Say, hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, hey, oh, tell me what I say. Tell me what I say. Tell me what I say now. Tell me what I say. I say, let's do it again. Hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, 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 oh, tell me what I say. Tell me what I say. Tell me what I say now. Tell me what I say. I say those are the same 3 chords and the same 5 notes, but now we call it R&B. But if you move all the way up to 1955, now you got a television. In fact, a big gigantic television in the middle of your living room with a little tiny screen. And it only gets 3 stations. And it's in black and white. And that means because you only got 3 stations that everybody's looking at the same show at the same time. On Sunday nights, everybody's tuned to CBS to catch Ed Sullivan. And Ed walks out on the stage. He goes, ladies and gentlemen, we have a really good show for you tonight. You're going to like this young man. He comes to us from Tupelo, Mississippi, by way of Memphis, Tennessee. He uses 3 chords and 5 notes, ladies and gentlemen. And the kid walks out on the stage and goes, 1 for the money, 2 for the show. Be the good ready now, go, cat, go, but don't you mess with my blue suede shoe. You can do anything, throw off my blue suede shoe. Yeah. Blue suede shoes, blue suede shoes, blue suede shoes, blue suede. You can do anything but say on my blue suede shoes. Thank you very much. Matt and Watroba and I go to schools, and kids in second grade know who that is. They say, who is that? That's Elvis. I says, cool. Who is he? He's the king. They go, cool. He's the king of what? Rock and roll. And then I asked him that question, being the subversive cat that I am. I asked him, so you know about the Black King, right? And they go, there's a Black King? Of course. This guy was from St. Louis. Black guy who played the blues, but sung with a country accent. Maybelline, why can't you be true? And as young people started dancing faster and faster and further apart, those folks, those kids wanted that music sped up. And so he sped it up. He sped it up some more. He sped it up so much it became... Way down in Louisiana, down in New Orleans, back up in the wood among the evergreens, stood in an old cabin made of earth and wood, where a little boy named Johnny be good. The little boy could never read or write so well, but he could play the guitar just like the regular bells. Let go, go Johnny, go, go, go Johnny, go, 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 go Johnny, go, go. Yeah, Johnny be good. Same 3 chords, same 5 notes. Now, of course, young people would listen to those notes and those chords, and they were crossing boundaries. All of a sudden in the deep south, it was cool for white kids to listen to black music and black kids to listen to white music. And even though it shocked their parents and drove them nuts, those kids were beginning to cross tracks that they'd never crossed before. That simply paved the way for the 5 black kids who came from Detroit in the 1960s. And they played the segregated gymnasiums with a rope down the middle to keep the black kids and the white kids from dancing together. But a guy by the name of Berry Gordy said, you know, this is America's music, and I want to bring folks together. So when those kids heard those 5 notes coming out of Detroit and saw those 5 good-looking, smooth black guys playing My Girl, they tore down the rope and danced together. I've got sunshine on a cloudy day. When it's cold outside, I've got the month of May. Well, I guess you say, what can make me feel this way? My girl, my girl, my girl, talking about my girl, my girl, ooh, ooh. Now, young people, when you tell them that this music comes from a common root, they look at you like you're crazy. But the fact of the matter is, it does. And the only way that we figured out how to convince them is to go back to the roots, to old Son House. But instead of doing it like Son House recorded, we like to do the remix. So instead of doing each verse twice, we do each verse once. And we fade the music out and we speed the tempo up. In which case this becomes the 1928 Death Letter Blues 2020, the remix. Song's 92 years old. Man. I got a letter this morning, how do you ring it red? Said, hurry, hurry, cause the gal you love is dead. You know I packed up my suitcase, took off down the road. When I got fast, she was laying out on the cooling board. I eased up close and I looked down in her face and said, hey, you know I love you, but I just can't take your place. Seemed like the clouds was standing down the funeral ground. I didn't know how much I loved her till they put my baby in the ground. Before my arms, and then I walked away and said, hey, you know I love you, have to see your judgment day. And know I woke up this morning, it was about to break a day, and I was looking on the pillow where my baby used to lay. Went to church, bowed down, I tried to pray, but the blues come along and they blow my spirit away. Woke up this morning moaning about the break of day, and I was hugging on a pillow where my baby used to lay her saying hush. I thought I heard her call my name. She didn't call so loud, but she called so plain. Yeah, boy.
Wow.
Thank you so much. Thank you, thank
Yes, we
you.
love it.
Amazing.
That's a little
Great.
taste of American music, right?
That's great.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. America has all of this music and all of these stories that really resonate with us. And I think that if we could really understand the other person's story, we would really appreciate what America is. That's one of the reasons I call myself, and people call me, a storyteller. When I started off playing this music, I really didn't have enough music to go around. So what I would do is I'd tell stories about where the music came from. And even when I became like a little bit better accomplished as a musician, I would start to then keep the stories in because people came to appreciate the stories. Like the story of this mandolin, an instrument that most folks don't necessarily associate with black music, but black folks were listening to white musicians, and you know, Bill Monroe was not out there by himself, and folks in the South, they call this thing a tater bug. And there was a guy by the name of James Rachel. His folks called him Yank. And Yank fell so much in love with the sound of the mandolin that his mother sent him off, much like Jack and the Beanstalk, to get a pig, and he came home with a mandolin. And his mama said, in typical black mama fashion, well, that's okay, Yank. I ain't gonna whoop you. This winter, while we all eating bacon, you can eat your mandolin. So it worked out okay, though, because old Yank became really this master of the blues on the mandolin. And he used to do this song called the Mailman Blues. You ever been like waiting for the mailman to show up? Kids now, we got UPS, we got FedEx. But there was times when you put your 6-box tops in the mail and you were waiting and waiting and waiting. Or you had that letter coming from your beloved and seemed like that letter would never get there. So that's why I understand Yank when he wrote the Mailman Blues. Mailman, please come by my house today. Mailman, please come by my house today. I'm expecting a letter from my baby. Been so long since she been gone away. I've been waiting for the mailman. Usually come around by 11 o'clock. I've been waiting for the mailman. Usually come around by 11 o'clock. You know he must have had car trouble. Yeah, so the road it must be blocked. trouble. Yeah, you know I just can't hardly wait. You know I just found out what the trouble was all about. I just found out, yeah, what the trouble was all about. You know the mailman been getting drunk, leaving my mail at someone else's house. Woo! Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Now, that reverend part is actually legit. I wasn't one of those guys who decided, Reverend sounds kind of cool. I'll call myself Reverend Jones. I got the gray hair to prove it. What I discovered is that this music has been both sacred and secular for a long time. And there was a great singer named Washington Phillips, but his instrument of choice was not the guitar, as many were, or the piano, but his instrument of choice was something called a melodeon, which looks kind of like two auto harps welded together, and nobody can quite figure out what it was or how he played it, but the range of sound is pretty close to that on a mandolin. And Washington Phillips has one of the greatest introductions in recorded American music, as far as I'm concerned. He comes on in a recording made in, I think it was 1927, says, through the scratches, he says, "What are they doing in heaven today? I don't know, but it's my job to tell you about it." That's an introduction. And your part in that song is, if you're singing at home, singing along at home, it's really beautiful but simple chorus. It goes like this. What are they doing in heaven today? Sin and sorrow are all done away. Peace abound like a river, they say. What are they doing there now? Try it. What are they doing in heaven today? Sin and sorrow are all done away. Peace abound like a river, they say. What are they doing there now? Thinking of those whom I used to know, who lived and suffered in this world below. Gone up to heaven, but I want to know, what are they doing there now? What are they doing in heaven today? When sin and sorrow are all done away. Peace abound like a river, they say. What are they doing there now? There are those whose lives were burdened with care, fought through their trials with sighing and tears, clung to the cross with a trembling fear. But what are they doing there now? What are they doing in heaven today? While sin and sorrow are all done away. Peace abound like a river, they say. What are they doing there now? There are those whose bodies were full of disease. Physicians and doctors couldn't give them much ease. Suffered till death brought a final relief. But what are they doing there now? Well, what are they doing in heaven today? For sin and sorrow are all done away. Peace abound like a river, they say. What are they doing there now? And there are those who are poor and often despised, looked up to heaven with tear-blinded eyes, while others were heedless and deaf to their cries. But what are they doing there now? Well, what are they doing in heaven today? For sins and sorrow are all done away. Peace abound like a river, they say. What are they doing there now? What are they doing in heaven today? Where sin and sorrow are all done away. Peace abound like a river, they say. What are they doing there now? Woo! Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, I got this nice guitar over here, nice hunk of steel. This is part of the tradition too. Man, we have this shiny guitar. This is what you played before they invented electric guitars. And this one is actually a newer guitar built by a great guitar builder out of Washington State named Ron Phillips. And Ron built these because he couldn't afford the old Nationals. So he decided to build them, and he ended up building guitars that were maybe even cooler than and definitely cooler than the old Nationals. And one of my favorite musicians and stories around that musician is a guy by the name of Blind Willie Johnson, who was out of Texas. He was born in Beaumont, lived in Marlin for a while, and also used to hang around Galveston singing spiritual songs. One of the greatest sanctified singers of all time. Had this really rough voice. Like you listen to him and be like, I know his blood can make you whole. I don't even know if Zoom can handle Blind Willie Johnson. And he liked this slide thing, man. It's like when you're playing this music and this is a spiritual tradition, and you had those ladies behind you and they're going like, and you can't get 6 ladies into a car, especially when you're a blind man and you're doing the driving. So he just brought along that guitar. Had a song called Dark Was the Night and Cold Was the Ground. And I love that old song. It started off the way Blind Willie recorded it, as a wordless hymn. It's just a moan. Of course, it has words, and it took me a long time, literally years, to find the words to that hymn. Found it in an old Baptist hymnal, and the words are, dark was the night, cold the ground, on which the Lord was laid. Drops of sweat like blood ran down in agony he prayed. Father, please move this bitter cup, if such thy sacred will. If not, I'm content to drink it up. Thy purpose to fulfill. course, when I hear some Blind Willie, it makes me think about my pastor, the late Reverend James Robinson, Sr. He was my pastor all through my youth, and when he passed away in 1999, I never expected that I would end up pastoring that same church. See, old Rev used to tell us a story. All the graduating seniors. Now that I'm the pastor, I have to tell the story. It involves being ambitious. Rev would tell us the story and he would give us $1. He said, as long as you got this $1, you'll have some money. And as long as you have this story, you'll have some wisdom. Well, I don't have the $1, but I still got the story. And every year around graduation time, if I have graduating seniors, I gotta tell them this story. They said, tell us the story, Rev. And I said, you don't want to hear that story. Yes, we do. I said, well, all right then. There was a boy who always did the best he could. And Rev said, this boy did the best he could because his father always told him, no matter what you do, aim high. And he said, son, even if you miss what you're aiming at, you'll fall among the stars and you'll get something good. So what I tell you, son? Aim high, Daddy. So that's right. So this boy was about to go off to college for the first time. First one in his family. And the night before he was supposed to go, his father caught him and said, you remember what I told you, don't you, boy? And he said, yes, sir. What I tell you? He said, aim high. So that's right, boy. And we proud of you. You know that, don't you? Say, yes, sir. I do know that. He said, well, before you leave, I want you to go out and take that single barrel shotgun, take that one shell we got, and I want you to go hunting and bring your daddy a nice big fat raccoon. Now, back in the day, they didn't call him a raccoon, they called him a coon. And I like coon. Not necessarily my first choice of an entree, but I can deal with coon. But I guess when you got a taste for coon, nothing else will do. So the boy said, yes, sir, Daddy. He was getting ready to go to bed, but his mama caught him and she said, son, you know we're proud of you, don't you? He said, yeah, Mom, I do. He said, well, you know what? We want you to get up in the morning and I want you to get that old single barrel shotgun, and I think your daddy ain't got but one shell. And I want you to bring your mama a nice big fat rabbit. And I'm gonna make you some rabbit and gravy. I know you like that. He said, yeah, Mama, I do. She said, well, bring your mama a rabbit. And then he thought all night, how am I gonna bring Daddy that coon and Mama that rabbit? Well, as these stories go, the rooster crowed at dawn, but actually I've been down south. That rooster crows all night long. So when the day was breaking, that rooster crowed and that boy got up and got that dog and took that shotgun and broke it down and put that one shell in the barrel and went hunting. And within about a half an hour, he had treed the finest raccoon you ever saw. And he got a bead on it, but he thought about, what about Mama? Well, as luck would have it in these kind of stories, you know at the base of that tree was the finest, biggest, fattest rabbit you ever saw. And the boy was conflicted. How am I gonna bring Daddy that raccoon and bring Mama that rabbit? And he got a bead on the raccoon, he got a bead on the rabbit, and a bead on the coon, and a bead on the rabbit, and he knew if he didn't do something soon, he was gonna lose them both. And then his daddy's voice came to his ear and said, no matter what you do always, that's right, aim high. So he got that bead on the coon, and he let that shotgun go. And you know, as luck would have it in these kind of stories, that fallen coon fell and killed a running rabbit. And then he was able to take them both home. And that's the truth, even if it never really happened. Because that's the idea of kind of stories. You might wonder what that's got to do with Blind Willie Johnson. Well, Blind Willie always aimed high. He sang sanctified songs. They pointed to heaven. And he reminded folks that in spite of his blindness, had it come in the hands of a woman who was angry at his father, even when he was a little boy. The woman threw lye water in the little boy's eyes, but never quenched his spirit or his desire to be a conduit to God. And he was playing out on the streets of Galveston one night when his old shack caught on fire. And they managed to get the shack out, but had nowhere to go but to sleep on that wet bedding. Contracted a cold, and pretty soon that cold turned into pneumonia. And they got him to the hospital, but the hospital didn't want him. Not because he was black, but because he was blind. And then, about 3 days later, Blind Willie Johnson died. They put him in an unmarked grave. And you would have thought that would have been the end of it, but Willie Johnson always aimed high. And it was not maybe decades later that folks from NASA came and said, we're going to build something called the Voyager. And on the Voyager, you got the golden record. And on the golden record are the things that are best on earth. You got Beethoven and Bach and Brahms on the golden record, as well as Chuck Berry. But right in the middle of the golden record is that old recording of Blind Willie Johnson. Dark was the night and cold was the ground. And I guess when it comes to aiming high, you can't do much better than the Voyager. On a warm summer night, you can hear Blind Willie Johnson across the heavens moaning. Thank you so much. Boy, it's getting, as they say in church, it's getting late in the evening. This is like my absolute newest song I'm gonna do for you right now. So, if I mess it up, charge it to my head and not my heart because it's a brand new baby. But someone called me and said we're asking singer-songwriters to put together music that will encourage people to vote and not sit out this current election. We think it's too important for us to just sit it out. And so could you come up with something that might encourage people to go to the polls? And I was just, planning on using one of my older songs. And then Matt Watroba and I were at a club called The Ark. We were doing a concert very similar to this one, but the idea was to get people to support folk music. And Matt said something peculiar about, that slogan about making America great again, and it triggered something in my brain. And the next thing I knew, I went home and wrote the song out. So I call it America's Dream. And I hope it encourages folks to get up and vote. In 16 and 19, America started when 20-some Africans set foot on the shore. And that was the start of America's dreaming, for they knew they'd see Angola no more. And there were the moments Jesus taught us of mercy, saying what you do unto others, you do unto me. And he died on the cross to make all men holy. And our fathers, they died to make all men free. This is the moment that calls us to action. This is the moment we learn how to stand. This is the moment where we rise to the vision. Let us endeavor for greatness again. And there were the moments we welcomed, and there were the moments we welcomed the masses, the tired, the hungry, who yearn to live free. And they followed the dreams like so many before them. And they followed the dreaming just like you and me. And there were the moments we cheered for Apollo. And that moment we wept when Columbia fell. United like men in the day of Pearl Harbor. Well, they left friends and family and marched into hell. Well, these are the moments that call us to action. These are the moments we learn how to stand. And these are the moments we rise to the vision. Let's endeavor for greatness again. And there was that moment we forgot about color and elected a leader in spite of his skin. And he helped lead us back from the brink of disaster. Let us find that moment again. And there were dark moments when young boys like Emmett were cut down in their prime by the hate of the Klan. Can we sit by over 60 years later and do nothing while it all happens again? Well, these are the moments that call us to action. And these are the moments we learn how to stand. These are the moments we rise to the vision. Let us endeavor for greatness again. So let us rise up in the year of the COVID. Though we wear masks, let our spirits be seen. Let us endeavor to find our greatness, and let us fulfill America's dream. And let us fulfill America's dream. Woo!
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you for
much.
that.
You guys are great. You guys are great. So, let's see. I would like to maybe we're going to get to the end of this set, and then we're going to have a little break. And we encourage folks to support the ISIS Music Center, as well as to support the worthy black family from Detroit named Jones. But then we'll be back with the after party, and I've discovered that the after parties are more amazing than the performances sometimes. We got some guests lined up. I don't know if we want to talk about who we got lined up, but I do know we have Jenna Fox coming back to bless us with some more songs, as well as some very special guests, some friends of mine who are waiting in the wings. So we are looking forward to that. Again, thank you so much for committing this radical act of just sitting around and forming community in new ways. Certainly, those of us who are used to being on stage, we miss the stage. But, you know, it's really amazing that now we are able to go places and meet people who weren't able to come and meet us. And you can sit in your living room amongst your friends, social distancing or whatever. And we really appreciate this technology. We really appreciate Mr. Brendan O'Sullivan, who kind of is one of the co-pioneers of how
Hey,
to get
Brandon.
Zoom to become what Zoom is. Amen. And we certainly
Brandon.
appreciate Louise Baker for keeping this music alive and this music series alive. Yeah.
Thank you.
And I didn't know what a golden ticket was, and now I have benefited from one. So we really
That's right.
appreciate that. So let's see what we have queued up in the old. Oh yeah. So there's a guy who his name was Georgia Tom Dorsey. And Georgia Tom Dorsey was one of the pioneers of this blues music called Holcomb. It was like, I got a gal who's crazy about me. She's just as crazy as a gal can be. She ain't crazy, she's just funny that way. In that progression, that G to the E minor to the A7 to the D7, became the basis of a bunch of songs. I mean, stuff like Mama took a chicken, she thought it was a duck. She put it on the table with its legs straight up. And out came the children with a cup and a glass. And we all caught the gravy from his yes. Well, needed a little bit of evolution, a little bit of polish. But Thomas Dorsey, Georgia Tom, grew up. He went to church. He got married, and he was expecting. They were expecting their first child, and he was playing that piano, which is what he was, piano player, at a revival in St. Louis. And he got a devastating telegram that told him to hurry back home to Chicago because his wife had gone into premature labor, and they didn't know how it was going to work out. So when he stepped off the train, they met him and told him that his wife of 1 year had died, but his baby was still alive. They had managed to save the baby, but 2 days later the baby died, and he had to put them both in the same casket. It devastated him. It drove him almost insane, and he couldn't play. He couldn't play blues. He couldn't play spirituals. He couldn't play anything. Till one day he was walking past that piano, and those same chords sort of fell up under his fingers, but it had become a new song. It had become something that we would call gospel. And it became this. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. Lord, I'm tired, I'm weak, and I'm worn. That's kind of the way he sang. It was a great song, but he needed somebody to put it over. So he met a young lady from Louisiana by the name of Mahalia Jackson. And when the Mahalia got through with it, it was gospel. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. Lord, I'm tired, I'm weak, and I'm worn. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me on. When my way grows near, precious Lord, linger near. When my life, Lord, is almost gone, hear my cry, hear my call. Hold my hand, Lord, let's not fall. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me on. Oh, my hand, Lord, lest I fall. Take my hand, blessed Lord, lead me on.
Wow.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Wow.
We're gonna take a little break, I think,
Great.
right, Brandon? And
Yep.
then we'll be back with some more music. Thank you so much for tuning in, and it makes it really wonderful for us musicians to be able to make music again. God bless you. See you in a few.
Thank you, Robert. See you soon.
All right, everybody. Welcome back, Reverend Robert Jones.
Thank you so much. You guys caught me trying to check out the chat. So I don't have one of those like ready bam remote things so I can check out what's going on in the chat. But I will be checking out the chat a little bit later on because of course if you guys have any questions or comments or stuff, we love that. We love to be able to communicate with the audiences, and of course Zoom helps to make that possible. So what I'm going to do right now is we're going to ask Mr. Jenner Fox to come back and to bless us with a song. Jenner, we've known each other that long, and it's like we've been friends for years, right? Because I think he's one of those young cats who's keeping this tradition going, And not only is he keeping the tradition going, but he's writing new stuff in the tradition. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the screen Mr. Jenner Fox.
Hang on one second.
This becomes one of those.
There we go.
Okay,
Oh, hello.
good.
Got him.
Was I in the bathroom at an inopportune time?
That's how it works, man.
Classic.
Man's got to do what he's got to
Just
do.
made it. All right.
Oh man. All right. Music.
That's what we're doing.
That's what we're doing now. All right. Well,
You're up, Jenner.
Reverend Robert Jones, that was so enjoyable. Thank you for that. Educational, moving, all the above. I like the voting song, man, and I hope that gets spread around.
I'm working on it. Thank
Keep
you.
playing the new ones. Yeah. This is a song for anybody who's spending a lot of time alone. I'm cooking for one again. Just a quarter of an onion. I'll make them just like I like them. I might even burn them. I'm cooking for one again. I got a house full of pictures of him. I got a heart on the mend. I'm cooking for one. Well, maybe I'll have the neighbors in. But then again, I don't really like them. And they don't really like my cooking. So I'll cook for one again. I got a house full of pictures of him. I got a heart on the mend. I'm cooking for one. There are days I'd gladly take him back. And there are days I don't remember having. But I won't stop trying. And this house is done with lies. And these onions that I'm burning are all mine. I'm cooking for one again. I got a house full of pictures of him. I got a heart on the man. I'm cooking for one. I'm cooking for one. I'm cooking for one.
Woo!
Thank you.
Jenner Fox. Wow, man, that's wonderful. You know, Jenner, the imagery in that song, like cooking a quarter of an onion, man. That's pitiful, bro. That's George Stone stuff, man. That's wonderful.
It's harsh,
So
harsh.
you got you got a concert coming up on when at the ISIS.
Yeah, playing Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Right here, same time. Yeah, thanks for
Wonderful.
mentioning that.
No problem, man. It's just a joy to experience your music again and to just have you come and be a part of this wonderful get together. And the things that's really great about this, now of course people could leave, but why would you want to when you have, you know, these wonderful artists waiting in the wings? And one of those wonderful artists is my best friend and my road dog when we used to be on the road, Mr. Matt Watroba. So now he's my cyber dog. And and you know, I'm coming from my house and he's coming from his house about 20 minutes up the road. But Matt is just a wonderful singer, songwriter, great voice, and a great champion of social singing too. I don't know how effectively you can pull that off on Zoom, but we're trying. So, ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for my best friend, Mr. Matt Watroba.
Thank you, Robert.
Hey, welcome, Matt.
It's so nice to see you, Louise. I sure loved every minute of my concert out at the ISIS Music Hall last year, and I miss Asheville so much. This is I make my yearly pilgrimage to teach at the Swannanoa gathering just down the road, and this year, of course, we couldn't do that, and I really miss all my friends down in North Carolina. So thank you, Robert, for inviting me to this shindig. I love the new song, man. It sounds great. If I said any word that contributed to your being inspired to do that, I'm very honored and proud. Here's a song that if we weren't on Zoom, I'd have Robert throw in a little harmonica. This is a song that I wrote, I think I wrote it in 2017 when I realized that half of my friends on Facebook unfriended the other half of my friends on Facebook. I don't know if that's happened to any of you. It's more complicated than that. Could you love me if I don't look like you? Is it deeper? Is it stronger? Something hidden, something true. If I stare a little longer, will I see myself in you? Could you love me if I don't look like you? Could you love me if I don't think like you? Is it deeper? Is it stronger? Something hidden, something true. If I stare a little longer, will I see myself in you? Could you love me if I don't think like you? This life's a burning candle, and it would be a shame if we ignored the difference between the smoke and the flame. Could you love me if I don't pray like you? Is it deeper? Is it stronger? Something hidden, something true. If I stare a little longer, will I see myself in you? Could you love me if I don't pray like you? This moment is a miracle, so why not find a way to be here and be grateful that we share another day? Could you love me if I don't love like you? Is it deeper? Is it stronger? Something hidden, something true. If I stare a little longer, will I find myself in you? Could you love me if I am not like you?
Beautiful. Beautiful.
I should mention that that song is available on the CD that Robert and I just put out together called Common Chords. And if you head over to mattwatroba.net, which Brandon will put up in the chat, you can get your very own copy of a CD that only took Robert and I 29 years to make.
It was worth it.
That was beautiful, Matt. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Beautiful.
Loved your stuff, by the way, Jenner. It sounds great.
Oh, thank you.
Fantastic, man. Yeah, we took our time to make it. So
Yes, we did.
I don't know why it took 29 years. We just procrastinated a lot, I guess. Thank you, Matt. That was wonderful, and I hope that you'd stick around for at least one more time through.
Sure.
And we'll get an opportunity to hear some more wonderful songwriting, or maybe not, from Matt Watroba. And now I see, is John in the house?
Oh yeah, John's here.
Okay, cool. Cause my eyes ain't what they used to be.
Hello.
I can't see him in the gallery view. Yeah, there he is. Well, now it gives me. There he is. Yeah, it gives me like not only great joy but almost tingles to introduce this guy, man. He's like
Tingles.
been tingles, shivers.
Better than tinkles.
Yeah, man. This guy's been an inspiration to me as a performer and a songwriter for a very, very long time. And I really feel blessed that I can now call him a friend as well. And, we've done a few things together, but anytime I get the opportunity to share a stage, whether actual or virtual, with John Gorka, I look forward to it. So, welcome to the after party. Thank you very much. One of America's great singer-songwriters, Mr. John Gorka.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Robert. I'm trying to figure out what to play now here. I'm thinking about this one. You were talking about aiming high. This is a song about what might happen if one of the flying red horses from the Mobil station, what might happen if one should escape. I worry about these things, and sometimes my fears and worries turn into songs. So let me see if I can turn myself down a little bit. Okay. This is a song called "The Flying Red Horse." I was I made a record with a couple of friends, Lucy Kaplansky and Eliza Gilkison. We made a record called Red Horse. We were all recorded for Red House Records. We were trying to figure out what to call ourselves. We thought we were going to combine our names, like last names like Crosby, Stills, and Nash, or Emerson, Lake and Palmer, that kind of thing. But it didn't sound great. It sounded like Gorka, Plansky, Gilkison. So we decided maybe that one's not going to work. So we all recorded for Red House Records. So I thought, why don't we call ourselves Red Horse? And I've got this song about a flying red horse. It's kind of a symbol of freedom. And so they relented, and we called ourselves Red Horse. And that record came out in 2010, I think. And this song that inspired the name of the group is not on the record because we are marketing geniuses. Okay. This is a song called Flying Red Horse. The flying red horse from the gasoline wars took off from her station in the sun. Turning her back on the pack at the pump, she jumped down from the sign to run. Full-serve attendants were spilling their hoses. Self-serve was doing the same. The manager dialed the emergency numbers. Insurance man won't make the claim. The sight of a horse crossing highways is frightening, but not with the breed that can fly. She's risen up to the level of oak trees, too low for the radar man's eye. I am not much of a joiner, she says. That's not where I draw my strength. Some of them go for the depth of field, while most of them go for the length. And me, I will go for the hard combination, 'cause I have some need to belong. But I'm leaving this unkind of sign life behind me. I'll take what is mine and be gone. If you see something red flash across the horizon, it's not that your eyes aren't right. She's taking her place with the red-tailed hawks and the broad-winged birds in flight. The flying red horse from Ruby Road North took off from her station to the south. And I swear to you that this story is true. I heard it right from her mouth. They will try to name you, tame you and frame you, aim you where you don't belong. They know where you've been, but not where you're going, and that is the source of the songs.
Woo!
Yeah.
Thank you.
John Gorka. That's amazing. So,
Thank you, sir.
well, thank you so much, John. And you touring around now without touring, like the rest of us. And you have anything coming up that we should know about?
Well, I don't have great internet here, so I've not really done any live streaming. But there's some. They're going to be running a live show that I did last year. They're going to run that a few times, a few different venues in the month of September. Godfrey Daniels Coffee House, the Circle of Friends Coffee House, and the Ark in Ann Arbor. And I think I'm going to hopefully get my internet better by October and maybe do my first live streaming thing there.
Very cool. But we can find out about those.
Yeah, they got plenty of time
on your website. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, John.
Oh, you're welcome.
I think we got time to go around at least maybe one more time. Is that okay?
At least one. At least.
At least one more time.
Absolutely.
So,
Sounds like fun.
The venue is open.
I'm going to mute myself.
The venue stays open.
Is Jenner out the bathroom again? All right.
Easier.
A man of my vintage, man, I ain't laughing at you, brother. You take every opportunity to do what you got to do, and you're not even my vintage yet, so it's cool. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, Mr. Jenner Fox.
Thank you, Robert. John, that was spectacular, man. I have had your song "Blue Chalk," I forget what record that's on regular repeat for a long time, and keep finding new moments in that song. It's great to get to see and hear you.
Thank you.
I used to live in Austin, Texas, and I'd like to play a song sort of in honor of the. I got today. I don't know if anyone else is a fan of European soccer, but they had the championship game, and I was thinking about how much I miss the sport. And when I was living in Austin, Texas, I was working as a musician, which meant driving bicycle taxis, and I had time to join an adult league soccer team called the Celtic Cowboys, and they were very, very fun in the bars and very mean to the referees. And the captain of this team was this guy named Martin, who was from England, and I don't know if anyone's played adult league sports before, but in my impression, it's sort of a for fun thing, taking it not so seriously. And Martin wasn't that. He took it very serious, and he would send long emails after every game talking about the importance of running on our own, and giving passionate halftime speeches. And the thing about Martin was that he wasn't very good. This song's dedicated to Martin and all of us who do things we love regardless of ability. Martin was born in England with 2 left feet, the son of Irish immigrants. And he'd wake up early to watch the weekend games. With bruised shins, he'd come home late, and his dad would say, "Martin, do your work and put that bloody football away. But he'd sneak out to the stadium and he'd stare up at the lights and hear them chanting his name in the beautiful game, in the beautiful game. Well, he grew up fast and he bought a one-way ticket across the Atlantic to Michigan for the promise of football and an education away from nails and hammering. But he found snow instead of grass and weightlifting and the wrong football on TV. So he took his degree and he moved down to Texas to coach a high school soccer team in the beautiful game, in the beautiful game. And that's where I met him. He was well into balding and we were on the same men's league team. And he'd give a halftime speech every Sunday to us half listening. And it sounded like, give it all you got, give it everything, 'cause this is everything to me. And no other team got a halftime speech, and I believed him, and I can still hear him say, the beautiful game, the beautiful game. And his dad would say, find something else to do. Maybe football is not the thing for you. But he kept coming back to that 4-4-2, which for those of you who don't know is one of the more popular soccer formations, with a goalkeeper, 4 defenders, 4 midfielders, and 2 strikers, like David Beckham and Steven Gerrard and Rio Ferdinand and Sean Wright Phillips and Frank Lampard and John Terry and Sir Bobby Charlton in the beautiful game, in the beautiful game. And after the cheers and the handshakes and the beers, Martin remains. And he sits with his back to the goal post, looking almost like he's always sat that way. And he cracks a smile, and he lets his hand down to feel the grass beneath. And he lingers as he runs his fingers through the dirt and the dreams. Kick the ball with me one more time. Kick the ball, Daddy. Kick the ball with me one more time. Kick the ball, Daddy. Thank you. Pass the ball to Matt.
Jenner, I love that one.
And I love story songs like that, Jenner. That's great. Well, one of the things that has made this last 5 months really, really hard is the fact that we've lost what I consider to be two songwriting legends, in John Prine and Michael Smith from Chicago, Illinois. And I all I'm doing right now is singing their songs, and I haven't written anything for them yet. But one of my other heroes, when he passed away, I ended up dreaming a line about him. I had just Townes Van Zandt left us on the first day of 1997, and just like Hank Williams died on not the same day, but on the same day of the year, the first day of the year. And I really love his music so much. And I had the chance to meet him twice through my work in radio. In fact, I have some great memories of, for those of you who don't know, Robert Jones and I met doing back-to-back radio shows on WDET, the public radio station in Detroit. And I would be, no kidding, I would be sitting getting my show together. Robert's show was on from 10 to 12. Mine was on from 12 to 3. And, just the strangest people would walk back into the library looking for Robert. Like I looked up one time and the blues singer and rhythm and blues singer Ruth Brown was standing there. And I'm like, so we got a parade of these amazing people, and I got to interview Townes twice. And I remember Robert sitting in the corner of the WDET studio as Townes was taking out a brand new song. It was written on a coffee stained piece of paper, and he threw it out and we're doing this live. And I just watched Robert's eyes as he watched Townes. I'm sure most of you know who he is. Probably his two most famous songs were like, If I Needed You, Would You Come to Me? That was one of his big songs. Emmylou Harris and Don Williams had a big hit with that. Townes swears he wrote that entire song when he slept. He said he went to bed with an empty notebook beside him. When he woke up, the whole song was written. He doesn't even remember writing it down. Now, I have to tell you, Townes does and did used to lie quite a bit, so who knows? His other big song, of course, was Living on the Road, My Friend, it's gonna keep you free and clean. But when you wear your death like iron, your breath is hard as kerosene. You weren't your mama's only boy, but her favorite one it seemed. I mean, an amazing song, Pancho and Lefty. In fact, he was such an interesting guy, addicted to a million drugs. Towards the end of his life, there were huge pauses between what he thought and what he said, which is great. If you're in conversation, I can put up with that. But when I was interviewing on the radio, it sounded a lot like what we call in radio dead air. And so I'll try to, as best I can, before I sing this song that I wrote for Townes, I'll try to kind of replicate exactly what he told me when I asked him live on the air what it was like to write that song, Pancho and Lefty. So, I'm sure he's been asked that question a million times. So I said, Townes, I was kind of young then. Townes, everybody loves that song, Pancho and Lefty. Tell us about that song. And he said, just like this, he said, well, Matt, I wrote that song, Pancho and Lefty, in a chair. A chair, Townes, really? And Matt, if you would have been in that chair at that time, you would have wrote that song. So I, of course, said, where the hell's that chair? I could stand a little time in that chair. I was reading a book about him called To Live Is to Fly, a wonderful biography of Townes. And after I closed the book at about 3 o'clock in the morning, I literally woke up the next day with this, what I thought was maybe a line of poetry, which was, some say it was just booze, or some wild, untamed muse, or one more pure image unfurled. Now I may be wrong, but I'd say it's a song that lifted you up from this world. And I went to work and wrote this little song, and it begins with just a snippet of a line from one of his great songs called the Tower Song. You built your tower strong and tall. Can't you see it's got to fall one day? sing us a story, you wild morning glory, reach down into places unseen. What others call shadow is merely the mad flow of the people and places you've been. Life was a ramble, a perpetual gamble, you tamed with the beauty of rhyme. You walked a tightrope, and just when you'd lose hope, then out of the dark hole you'd climb. To dig at the details, the devil goes deeper. He wakes when you're looking away. He visits you when you've lost one more weekend, just keeping the demons at bay. Dreams would combat you, the darkness clawed at you, you fought back with codeine and words. But what made you fragile, likewise made you agile, your bones they were hollow like birds. Your songs inspire the broken down choir who lost all desire to sing. We learned it made good sense to lower our defense and toss it all into the ring. Dig at the details, the devil goes deeper. He wakes when you're looking away. He visits you when you've lost one more weekend, just keeping the demons at bay. Some say it was just booze, or some wild untamed muse, or one more pure image unfurled. Now I may be wrong, but I'd say it's a song that lifted you up from this world. So sing us a story, you wild morning glory, you went unarmed to the fray. You built the tower, and just like the flower, you bloomed and were gone in a day. But dig at the details, the devil goes deeper. He wakes when you're looking away. He visits you when you've lost one more weekend, just keeping the demons at bay. Townes Van Zandt.
Right. Great. Whew.
Well, Mr. Gorka, looks like you're on next, and then we'll just do one more to take us home.
There, I think I'm unmuted now. Let's see. How about this one? This is one I think I know. I don't know that many songs anymore, you know. Haven't done a set in 5 months or something. So I've been concentrating on one song a week, trying to make a little video of one song a week. So so there's a lot of songs that are I've gotten away, but I think I've got an idea on this one. Also, I wanted to make a comment. Robert made a before he did his new song. He said something. I put a little a few words before. Now, if I should screw it up, let me tell you from the start. Charge it to my head and not my heart. Okay. So there's a song in that line that Robert. I think I'd love to hear what you come up with that. Okay, this is it's a song called Riverside. Time is a river with no riverside, space a sea that has no tide. Oh, can't get across, no, it's too wide. If you have loved, then you have cried. We are dust that was made in stars, Now we roll off to work in cars. When we were young, we'd spill our dreams in bars. Now we clean up the mess. A little bit of thought can make a lot of sense, 'cause every little day can make a difference. Yes, I'm speaking in the present tense, where my faults and seams wear through. And I can be more than a little dense. You're gonna get splinters if you ride that fence. Still I like the way the river bends when it turns back to you. We called it gravy, never called it sauce. You better learn something if love gets lost, like how hard the hurt, how high the cost, how all smooth goes to rough. Time is a river with no riverside. Space a sea that has no tide. No, can't get across. No, it's too wide. If you have loved, then you have cried.
Woo!
Hey, John.
Yes. Yes.
I mentioned we lost two of my songwriting heroes in the last 5 months. Would you please get your steps in and eat your vegetables, buddy? Because you're one of them.
I've been eating my vegetables. I ride bicycle ride bicycle every day. I'm down 15 pounds from so far in the
Woo!
COVID. So
all right.
So I'm trying to pay attention to that. But thank you very much.
We want John Gorka around for a long time.
Absolutely.
A man who's using his isolation wisely. Listen, I think we're probably at the point where we just, we really want to thank this audience for tuning in, and I really want to thank special guests Jenner Fox and Matt Watroba and John Gorka. Amen.
Thank you, Robert.
I tell you, when you know a guy in his richness by his friends, so I really appreciate that. And again, a big thank you to Louise Baker.
Thank you, Louise.
Thank you, Louise.
Series going, yeah.
Thank you, all of you. That was wonderful. I can't wait to have you all here on my stage one of these days soon.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it won't be soon, but you'll all be back here.
You know what, Louise? We can't
Miss you.
wait.
Just keep breathing, people.
And what a great blues name you have, Louise Baker. If you can't do that blues, I don't know.
Well, the other night Jack Williams was doing one of these shows, and he has that song Mama Lou about his mother. So that was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And Big Bill Brunsey said, Louise.
That's right.
That's good stuff.
I love the blues.
And finally, me too. Finally, thank you to Brendan for helping to maneuver all of this wonderful.
Yes, great job, Brendan.
It occurs to me that the Zoom is the stupidest name for this platform. You have to have Zoom meetings, except when Brandon is doing it. Then it's really Zoom. So,
well, thank you, Robert. I appreciate that.
No problem.
Awesome.
So I want to wrap up with a song that I wrote for my daughter. Exactly 20 years ago, because she's 28 years old now, and I wrote it for her so that she would know why she has her name. Her name is Arnesia. And I'm really, I'm proud of both of my children, and now I'm proud of both of our grandchildren. And I particularly send my love out to my wife, without whom none of them would be possible. So I appreciate that. And I was looking at my favorite, old movie channel last night, and they had The Searchers with John Wayne on. And they were talking about how some movies don't necessarily have a happy ending, but they have a satisfying ending. And so I'm hoping that this song is in that same category. I call it Arnesia's song. In the year of 1916, the moneyed world had turned its hands to war. But deep within the state of Alabama, Arnesia of Evergreen was born. And there never was a movie done about her. No history book will ever hold her name. But I know her story like I know my own hand, and I will tell her story just the same. Well, in 28, when all the folks were laughing and talking about the money that they'd made, at 12 years old in dresses made of patches, Arnesia picked the cotton while she played. And she helped her mother raise 2 orphan cousins, 'cause that's the way they did it in those days. Barely older than the children that she cared for, that's how Arnesia learned her mother's ways. And in 34, when all the folks were crying and talking about the money that they lost, Arnesia was all alone and trying to figure out what love too young would cost. She'd had 2 children form out of wedlock, back when such children were a mark of shame. And though she never wore it in her own house, she raised her babies with their father's name. And no movies were ever done about her. No history book will ever hold her name. But I know her story like I know my own hand, and I will tell her story just the same. Well, in 49, Arnesia left for Detroit to see the poor man's fabled promised land. She sold whiskey to the workers in Black Bottom, and she put her problems all in Jesus' hands. In Detroit, it wasn't like old Alabama. She had to learn to face the cold gray morn. That rags wrapped round her feet would keep her walking, and newsprint round her legs would keep her warm. And in 56, while civil rights was marching, her daughter had a baby of her own. And she found out what Arnesia had long known, that it's hard to raise a baby on your own. But those women worked to raise that boy together, and they gave me all the best they had to give. When I think about the way those women raised me, I know those women taught me how to live. And no movies were ever done about her. No history book will ever hold her name. But I know her story like I know my own hand, and I will tell her story just the same. By the 60s, Arnesia's son got married, and he found success in the mechanic's trade. And his 8 children came and brought his mama pleasure, and around her feet all 9 grandchildren played. And we grew inside the joy that was around her. Somehow we'd all cut out our middle marks for a neighborhood of children called her mother, and she wiped away our tears on callous palms. But by the 80s, while the whole wide world was spinning, our Niecy did the best that she could do. Her only son was killed at 37, and her only daughter died at 52. And the twist of fate had taken all her children, and nearly all the joy that did remain. But in my son's eyes, she met 4 generations, and she knew her life had not been lived in vain. And in 90, in the month that she was born in, Arnesia of Evergreen went home. And in 91, my wife came in and blessed me with another little Arnesia of my own. And sometime when I hear my niecey laughing, I hear my other niecey in the sound. And it's then I bow my head and pray to heaven that Arnesia's life goes better this time round. Thank you so much. Thank y'all for spending your Saturday night with all of us, with me and my gang, my posse, and my road dogs or my cyber dogs, as the case may be. Again, thank you once again for the ISIS Music Center for doing what you do, and you guys have a great and a wonderful rest of the summer. And good Lord willing, we'll be back seeing each other face to face and song to song in the near future. God bless you.
Thanks,
God
Robert.
bless you.
forward
Thank
to
you,
it.
Robert.
Great show,
Thank you,
guys. Thank
Robert.
Everybody.
John, Matt, Jenner.
Enjoyed the music.
Everybody, Perry, Ramsey, and all the rest of you. See you again soon.
Bye-bye. Thank
All
you.
right, everybody. I hate to make it abrupt, so if everybody wants to leave of their own accord, it'll
Okay.
feel a lot.
All right.
It'll
Great to
seem
see.
it'll seem a lot less running on my
Great
end.
All right.
show. Good night,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Night, everybody.